Well, hey there, it's Alka.
And Jen, and welcome to another episode of the Creative and Ambitious Entrepreneur Podcast. And today we are talking about Zazzle success strategy number 1, which is establish your business and your Zazzle skills. And this is part of 5 strategies that we're going to be talking about. So a 5-part series of our podcast episodes here. So today's all about strategy number 1.
Yeah, we're very excited to be able to bring you this series. So make sure that if this is the first one that you were listening to, obviously listen or watch 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if you've just happened on number 2, 3, or whatever, make sure you listen to all of them. What we've realized over the course of the time that we've been on the Zazzle platform and have made it our main income source for anything to do with e-commerce online is that these 5 strategies, which are the 5 strategies that we've developed in our business in order to be successful and basically up to this point sell over $15 million worth of Zazzle products between the 2 stores that we have. Well, between our 2 accounts, we have multiple stores. Mm-hmm. But that's the 5 strategies are key. They are, if you miss one, your business can't run. If you only do one of them, your business can't run. You have to have all 5 going at the same time. And that's why we want to really dive deep in these next 5 episodes to help you understand what you need to do and why each one of them is important. Mm-hmm. So, and we'll give you some tips and tricks along the way and some stories of ours and our learnings and insights of our students when they've done these, strategies and how they've all come together to help create successful businesses on the Zazzle platform from our clients that we teach the 5 strategies to through our main course, which is the Profit by Design Academy, and our new coaching program, which is going to help keep giving you that support you need as you move through taking the course and actually using the course to implement it into your business. This course is very different than other courses because it's actually a business plan for your Zazzle business. And what we always remember when we first started out was what is it that was the difference between us being successful or not being successful? Mm-hmm. And that was that we didn't treat it as a business. And then the second thing is we didn't know how that was. What did we need to do in order to actually treat it as a business? We actually thought we were treating it as a business, but we weren't. And so these 5 strategies really crystallize the things that you have to do in order for it to be treated as a business. Mm-hmm. So you're getting all this, already done for you. So just listen, figure out what it is, and see if you're implementing that into your business. And if you're brand new, obviously, then you're going to start off correctly, and you're just going to not waste a lot of time like we did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the 3 points that we're going to cover in this episode are, number 1, who would benefit from implementing strategy number 1, which is establish. The second point is, why is strategy number 1 establish so important, and what are the benefits? And the third point we're going to be covering is what needs to be done to incorporate strategy number 1, establish into your Zazzle business.
Yeah, we've got lots to cover. Mm-hmm. So let's start with who would benefit from implementing strategy number 1, which is establish.
Go
you want to go?
You can go for it if you want.
Okay, I'll do it. All right, creatives. That's you.
Yeah.
Anyone who actually wants to start on the Zazzle platform, who or even has already started but is not succeeding at the moment to really get what they want out of it in terms of the input that you've put in to try and get that to make money for you. And if it's not working for you, then this is definitely something that you need in your business strategies to get it to work for you at the level that you want in terms of income. And for anyone who's brand new, then you're in the right spot right now, because you're going to hear all this information, you're going to learn and know right away, oh my gosh, that's what I need to do. I didn't realize that. Mm-hmm. And it's going to make your life so much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then, if anyone who is not yet, and this is the part that I'm going to get maybe people a little bit antsy about. It's if you're not at 5K a month, that means $5,000 a month in earnings on the Zazzle platform, you definitely haven't put this into practice yet, this strategy. You may be making a couple $100 or even a couple $1,000, but if you're not making $60,000 a year on Zazzle minimum, then you haven't fully taken advantage of this strategy. Mm-hmm. And yeah, if that, some of you might be thinking what, I can make $60,000 a year on Zazzle. We do have clients that are making that now. Mm-hmm. And that's really important for you to understand, is that if you implement strategy number 1 correctly and with all of the pieces, then hopefully you'll move forward in the same, like in such a momentum that you're going to be earning that soon. But that's something that we can't obviously claim for you. Remember, we can't make any income claim statements, and Zazzle is a long-term business opportunity for you, and you have to put in the time and do the right action steps. But the most important thing is that clients of ours are getting there.
Yep.
And so there, and we have gotten there, obviously. And so the idea is what do you need to take from this established strategy that you have yet to do in your business? And so we're going to dive into that right now.
And also, when some designers start out on Zazzle and they're much more in the creative headspace rather than the business side of things, that they think that they can just open up a store really quickly and then start posting products for sale, and then they'll start making money. But you definitely have to take the strategy very, very much to heart when you're implementing your Zazzle business and you're taking those strategic action steps, because it's like the core foundations. That's why it's number 1, because you have to start with it and then you move forward to the next strategies. But some Zazzle designers, when they've been on Zazzle for years and they've never really implemented a strategy number 1 established properly into their Zazzle business, and then they're struggling, and they've felt the struggle for years and years because they haven't been making the amount of money that they want to, and they're ready to throw in the towel, and they're like, I've done everything, I posted all the products, I have thousands of products, like what's wrong with my store, or why am I not making the money? And it usually starts with this strategy because they haven't done it properly.
And don't forget, we only teach and tell you what we have already learned and figured out works for us. And when we first started out, we also didn't do the strategy. In my first year, I made $90, and I was going like, I've done everything right, I'm good, and it wasn't true. I needed to do everything here in this strategy in order for it to be elevated to the business that it is today. And same with Jen.
Yeah, no, when I first started out on Zazzle, my store was horrible. I've shared some stories with people like students, and I've actually showed my store to some of my students because it still exists, and it's so bad. It's got everything done wrong. It's very disorganized. It doesn't have any branding, which we'll talk about obviously later on in this episode on what is involved with strategy number 1. But it just was so eye-opening to see that if you didn't establish your store properly, what I wanted to say, it was so amazing to see the change when you actually established your store properly and started seeing those sales, because you weren't really doing anything different. You were just implementing the things properly, if that makes sense. Yeah,
it's the small things that make the big differences. And so let's just move right in as to why it's important and what are the benefits.
Yes. So I was touching on it a little bit right there, but basically your Zazzle store will look professional. You'll be branded. You'll create that customer connection, and also increase potential customer buyers because they feel more comfortable being in your store. I'm sure if you're a Zazzle designer and you've looked at other Zazzle stores, there are some that look extremely professional, and there's others that don't even have a store banner and they don't even have a profile picture, but they have products. And when you're in those stores, it feels a bit uncomfortable. Like you almost are wary or like skeptical of buying the products there, even though it's the same product on a different, like on the same platform as the other designers. But just because their store isn't set up and doesn't look good, you feel a bit icky buying those. Yeah. So potential customers will shy away from stores if they don't look professional. And also in terms of your customer and the way that they actually buy things or find things in your store, if you don't have it organized properly, it's not easy for them to navigate, and then they'll get lost, or they'll just decide to actually search elsewhere on the Zazzle marketplace because it's too confusing for them to find things, right? And so it allows you, when you establish your store properly, to have that better customer relationship, and also the experience is what I wanted to say.
Yeah, when a customer comes to your store, you've got like 3 seconds, if that, to give them what's called the know, like, and trust factor experience. So they have to know who you are. So that's why Jen said something about the profile. And then also how your store is branded, so they know that they're in the right place and that they're ready to shop in your store because it resonates with what they want. And then the like is they have to kind of feel comfortable. They have to know a little bit more about you and stuff. And that's one of the things that is in this established strategy is telling people who you are and what you can do to serve your customer.
Yeah.
And then the trust factor comes from everything looking professional, like just like Jen said. You get this sort of sketchy feeling, and all of a sudden your mind changes. You go like, okay, I'm going to find something else in a different place in order for me to get what I want. This just doesn't feel right, and that all happens within less than 3 seconds. And so we want that to not be a negative experience for a customer. We want them to be feeling really comfortable and excited about looking more into your store to see what you have to offer. And so that's the benefit, is the benefit of having the customer without you being physically there, because this is a passive income experience, right? This customer comes to your site and it's just your store. They don't see you, they don't talk to you. So you have to do that work to give them that impression of who you are and what you have to offer, and how professional you are in 3 seconds or less, just by them looking at your homepage.
Yeah.
And so that's part of establishing your business. It's like, if it was a brick and mortar store, you wouldn't have people come into a dump, right? You would have a nice professional looking sign on your window or on your up above the doorway. You'd have really nice products displayed within your store. This is the same thing, and that's part of what you're doing. You're establishing your business, even though it's an online business.
Yes.
Second benefit is
establishing your Zazzle skill sets, which allows you to compete within the marketplace and also, sell the products that you're putting up for sale, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we come onto the Zazzle marketplace and we think that since we have great art, photography, or designs or surface patterns, that they should just instantly just fly off the shelves, as they say in the physical, selling world. But then you see crickets and or hear crickets, and there's like, where is everybody, and why are they not buying my things? And the reason is we have yet to really understand what we need as skill sets to be serving that Zazzle customer. And so that comes with doing things like creating proper products with the designs on it that's obviously needed for that particular niche. And then even when we do have designs that we know people would like elements of a particular, like let's say you're doing a baby shower, and right now elephants are really popular. So you have your elephant, you write down baby shower, you write down the details of the invitation, but you're still not getting the sale. Why? Because you have yet to either do the titles and tags correctly, which is a skill set that's really important, or when people come to your design and they see it, it might not be as effective as something else that people see right next to yours because of the Zazzle sort, the way that people can see the products. And so that means that you have to come to a certain level of designing skill for that particular niche, right? And that's the thing that people forget, is like, I've put up certain things, but they're not selling. Why? I'm being competitive. But have you been competitive on the level of what the customer sees, and they make that split-second decision as to whether or not your design is something they like over someone else's. Now, it doesn't mean you have to be an incredibly good designer, but it just means that you have to listen to what the market is currently needing and then deliver on that. It doesn't mean that you have to have a arts degree in design. It just means deliver on what customers want. And that's the disconnect for some people.
Yeah.
All right. And then the other skills are definitely, how do you then leverage your collections so that they will be allowing your collections to sell more than one thing to the same customer, which is a fabulous thing, because all of a sudden now you can sell a lot more to one customer and make more money with one sale and one transaction, which is always the benefit of exponentially increasing your income, or that's how you're going to do it. And then the last thing is store categories, which for some part, the customer is going to use those to navigate your store. But on the other hand, it's also for you as a designer and as a store owner to be able to handle where your products are in your mix of things so that you can know whether or not you've actually made them. That's happened to us so many times, right? It's like, oh, this one product is selling. It's like, we're selling this product. It's so good. And then we look and we go like, that's the only design and product that we've made. We haven't actually even put it on any other products. And we were like, because we were not organized in our store, and so we didn't actually know that we were missing these things.
can
And we
also
could have
go-
been making so much more money.
Yeah, but it can also go the opposite way, where you're actually doing more work because you think that you don't have them because
Oh,
you
yeah.
put them in a certain
Doubles,
category.
triples.
Yeah, and you're making double and triple the same design by accident. So
Then it doesn't look so professional,
Yeah.
and it looks a little disorganized. And so, yeah, so that then lends back to the, no like and trust factor.
yeah,
Okay, so now you understand all of these things are to leverage your ability to make more money on the Zazzle platform. That's the benefit, right? But the key thing is that you're doing two things. You're always creating your store, but you're also the one and only person who's actually creating your store. And so you have to have that skill set level to start with to create a store that's great, and that the products in it are great, and that they can be found so that they can actually be sold. And that's the key part of this. It all ties in together. And it's going to be great if you set it up properly, so you can really get those customers to come and not only find your store, but also know, like, and trust you to the point where they'll just buy like crazy. Okay, so what needs to be done in order to incorporate strategy number 1? Establish it into your Zazzle business. And this is the point number 3.
So to establish your store, there are a certain set of things that you have to do. So the first one is choose a proper store name. And I know that sounds very basic, but a lot of people have chosen improper store names or store names that they weren't really sure about, and then it's kind of morphed into something different. But once you pick a store name, your URL that you create for your Zazzle store will always be that initial first store name. Okay. So first, I always like to tell the story about my first store. So my first store is Jen Clark 78. And I also literally had a store that said just store. Okay. And so I thought that you could change it. And at first, when you first sign up, you think like an email or like a username or something like that, right? So you choose something that's sort of unique to you and has a couple numbers on the end, like Jen Clark 78. And at the end of the day, I built up this Zazzle store, but then I realized that I wasn't able to change the name. And I wanted to obviously be more professional because it sounds much more appealing to buy from a store that has a proper store name rather than a weird username type name. Okay.
Yeah.
So if maybe you don't have a username, but maybe you have a store name that you chose sort of willy-nilly, let's say, or that made sense to
And
you,
it doesn't even match
but
anything,
it doesn't
yeah.
match anything in your store, or it's maybe your dog's name or something like that. Because we have had students who have come to us and said, I need to change, like I need to open up a new store because I have chosen a store that doesn't really fit with what I'm selling in my store. So there's where a disconnect in branding comes in, and it creates that trust factor with your customer base.
And it's a lot of work because you can't just
Yeah.
transfer products over
Yeah.
to another store. And yes, there's some workarounds for sure, but ultimately your URL for your Zazzle store is still that old URL, even if you do a redirect or yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not really. It's doable, but it's better to choose a good name at the beginning. So then you obviously want to create branding for your store. So what we like to tell our students is what type of what do you want to present to your customer, right? What type of colors are you going to use in your store banner? What type of fonts are you going to use? What type of things, like just how are you going to
Like your
present
mood,
yourself?
yeah,
Your
yeah.
mood in your store, because you can obviously create a profile and a logo and your store banner. And so you want all of those to be cohesive, because we have also had a couple students who come to us in our Profit by Design Academy coaching program, and then they show us their store and they've got a store banner that has a certain type of font and like very clashy colors, and then their logo is a completely different color and it has like a scripty font, and then their picture isn't the same. So it just kind of creates that disconnect, and it doesn't feel like cohesive and like good, it just feels very jarring, and actually they'll probably be turned off more by the fact that your branding doesn't look good rather than if your products actually are
Yeah,
good
they
or not,
haven't
right?
even gotten around to your products. They just see the banner first,
Yeah.
and so then they go, I don't think I'm in the right place.
Yeah. And then also tied in with that is your about little section, where you can speak about who you are as a brand or as a designer or an artist and what you sell in your store, and give them an idea of who you are and what you offer them, right? And how you can serve them better.
It's, where we're getting through these, like there's still the profile, which is also really important, especially now Zazzle's asking us to put our faces on the profile picture so that the customers can really connect with us as artists, so that they get that full experience that they come to the Zazzle platform and then they're purchasing from indie designers, and that's like a draw for the whole Zazzle platform, that it's made up of all these designers. They're not trying to like cover us up. They're trying to actually showcase us as designers. And also the store categories that come below the banner and the profile and the about section. And we haven't even gotten halfway down the page of their store when you go to that homepage. And all of these things the customer can see right off the bat, and they'll make some judgments right away. And then that's, even though these are all, like, you might even be thinking, well, I'm listening to this podcast and it's just like so basic. Why is this so important? It's incredible how many people forget that this is, even though it's basic, it's super important, because there's everyone judges people, especially in this day and age with with Instagram and social media and everything that's on demand in terms of easily clicking on and off something. You have like less than a couple of seconds to give an impression.
Yep.
And if that impression isn't going to resonate with that filter that everybody has in their brain right now when they're looking visually at something, then you are lost. You've just lost your chance to have that customer purchase from you. And so this is why this is really important.
Yeah.
All right. So next, there's two actually pieces to establishing, right? You've heard those throughout so far in the podcast. The first is always like setting up your store properly, because that's like, if you go into any sort of store, like even if you go into an Apple store, you've got a certain feeling and a brand, and you know what to expect and all that stuff. And physically, if something was ajar, like if all of a sudden they had flowers in the corner, or they were selling wings on a sidebar, it's like, that's not Apple. That's not this Apple store. But that's what we are trying to do, even though we're small business owners here on the Zazzle platform, we need to project that we look professional and we have that air about us that we are an international seller on the Zazzle platform, which is we are. We just don't maybe have all the sales to prove it, but we definitely are on this platform competing with things like even Disney, right? We're right next to Disney and Marvel and all the brand names that Zazzle has partnered with, and we're right there with our products on the same platform. So level up. Let's get, we have the most ability as small business owners to actually up brand, to be as professionally looking as possible so that we can compete against some of these brands even. And that's what we have in mind for you. And so don't take this lightly. That's what I'm trying to say.
And then you were kind of alluding to that, but the second part of establishing is now establishing your Zazzle skill sets so that you actually can be a good designer and sell too, because you need to set up your store properly, obviously, but then you need to definitely be able to create those products and properly market them in the Zazzle marketplace so that you can sell them and make money. That's why you're on the Zazzle platform, right? So the first one is how to use the design tool. The design tool is a very, very comprehensive interactive tool on Zazzle that's it's amazing, because you don't even
Photoshop.
You don't need a Photoshop program or anything to create products on Zazzle if you don't want to. Their design tool is
really robust.
Really robust and easy to use, and so you can create beautiful products using the design tool. So you can upload pictures or use text, and then they also have a whole bunch of shapes that you can use to actually create your own graphic designs if you wanted to play around with it. And so learning the design tool and learning how to use the pattern tool and the different fonts and the different colors and the color picker and all of the things that are included in the design tool are really important, because it is super useful, and it can be definitely like leveraged to help you create beautiful designs. And if you don't know how to use it properly, like by accident, maybe you don't create your templates properly, or you don't create the text bounding boxes properly, then
or you don't put your picture on the entire area so that it's not within the border, so it prints off, the printing is off or something.
So if you do these tiny little mistakes that even myself and Elka have made in the past,
still
because
do.
we're not perfect, but if you know more about it and you use the design tool often, then you'll learn to catch yourself when you're about to make those tiny mistakes that actually cost you a lot of money. Because if you create a beautiful design but it doesn't have a template set up properly, or there's a spelling mistake, or as Elka said, you've put the picture on too big so it prints improperly, then you won't have any customers. Your customers will either buy and return, or they won't buy at all.
Exactly. So these are all skill sets that you have to learn and be good at on the Zazzle marketplace. If you're on another print-on-demand company or something like that, you're going to have to learn their set of skills to really flourish on that site. So these are very specific to the Zazzle marketplace. So the second one is researching and choosing a niche.
Yeah.
And even though you would research and choose a niche even on another print-on-demand company, or on Amazon, or Amazon or Shopify if you're trying to sell something, but here specifically you want to research the niches that are popular with the Zazzle customer, so that you can make products that are just easy to sell, because that kind of customer already comes to the Zazzle platform. You can also create products that you can drive traffic from external sources to the Zazzle platform. That takes a little bit more work, but in either case, you have to know whether that's the case, right? Whether the niche that you're serving is already coming to Zazzle because Zazzle's promoting that particular customer, or if you want to make things that maybe aren't as usual on the Zazzle platform, and you need to drive traffic there. That doesn't mean that you can't make money. You just have to be better at driving the traffic so they come and buy your things. But either way, you have to do that research, and you have to decide on some niches. And the niche itself, you have to then create those skill sets and get really good at the knowledge behind what customers want in that niche and how you're going to deliver that product. A case in point is something where you're doing things for graduation, for example, and you want to know, like, do you need just an announcement, or do you need a party invitation, or do you need a thank you, or is it all in one? Like, those are the kinds of things that you have to research to really deliver on the product that people are looking for. And so these are the nuances that you have to get in touch with to really flourish within a niche and profit by creating those sales.
Yeah. So the third one is how to leverage your art, photos, surface patterns, or any other type of artwork with or without using templates to create desirable products. Because we have a lot of artists. Obviously, we're all creatives, and some of our students and some of you who are listening here, you probably create your own art, right? You're an artist. And so we want to make you understand that you're able to sell your artwork. A lot of people think that you need to create the next trending product that's on the Zazzle homepage, or do glitter, or do a whole bunch of things that are trending. And that is true for some parts, but it's not entirely true. There are a lot of Zazzle designers who sell their artwork and or graphic patterns or surface patterns, etc., and photos. And the only the reason why they do sell is because they've created desirable products. Because you can't just take a picture of, let's say, an old farmhouse and put it on a coffee mug and expect it to sell to everybody in the entire world. You obviously have to create something desirable for somebody, and maybe even have it customizable so that people can make it personal. So there's a little bit of work involved in terms of doing the research for that, in that respect, to make sure that you don't feel defeated, because as creatives, we're very
someone said that we should sell our artwork online because it's beautiful, and so then we do that and we put it on a mug or whatever, like Jen says, and then it doesn't sell. It's like, why? And we have to understand what that Zazzle customer wants. They may want the mug, but they may need it to say, good morning, sunshine, or they may need to have a monogram on it, or they may need to say a motivational saying along with whatever the picture is, or the artwork, or the photo, or even the pattern. And by targeting a specific audience, then you'll be able to leverage the art pieces or the photography or the surface patterns that you have that are the assets that you're adding to the overall design, that gives it the functionality for the customer to say, oh, now that's perfect, that's what I wanted. And so in order to use those assets that you have to learn how to leverage them properly. We've seen so many mistakes being made as well, where artists just put their artwork up because it's beautiful, but then they put maybe like a horizontal landscape on a vertical cell phone case, and then that means that the landscape really doesn't have that same effect because some of it's cut off.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden the focal point has been lost in the landscape, and so therefore it doesn't have the same impact as it would on a on a horizontal bath mat or iPad case or laptop case or whatever else, like a mouse pad or something. Whereas the cell phone case, because it's vertical, cuts that off, and so you don't get to see the whole image.
Yeah.
And so then people wonder, well, why didn't that cell phone case sell?
Yeah.
And then another really big mistake that people make is that they put text right on top of their artwork. Well, that diminishes your artwork, and first of all, you can't really see the text. And so just by using some really specific ways to handle your artwork, so that you can add text or you can make it specific to a particular niche, even if it's not just I want to buy a mug with a barn on it, then you are in the right position to leverage things that you do have as assets that you can bring to the table that are very unique and different and that people will want to buy.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 4.
So become good at titles and tags to promote effectively. Titles and tags are what we talk about probably the most in some of our sessions because it's interesting. Every product has to have a specific title and specific tags, and you have to definitely do your research for that. And if you don't have a proper title or proper tags, then first of all, your product probably won't be found in the Zazzle marketplace, and also you're like diminishing your chances of it being found on external websites such as Google or search engines. And also if you're promoting it, like with social media on Pinterest, when you have a bad title, that actually transfers over to Pinterest too. So you're actually losing a lot of customers or potential customers if you don't have proper titles and tags. And it does
It's an art form,
I think, and as I said, everyone is different. So we can't give you the golden secret or the secret sauce here to tell you how to do a perfect title and have perfect tags. But what you can do is definitely do your research and then play around. We tell a lot of our students to do some A/B testing and then also definitely look up search words on the Zazzle marketplace first before you start using them in your title. And especially for artists as well, when you're naming a piece of artwork, for example, you have a really nice like descriptive word for the feeling you have, right?
Serenity or something like that.
And a lot of like Zazzle designers think that they need to define or entitle their artwork or their products like that because that's how they're used to titling their artwork in canvas form. And this actually also hinders your chances of being found because a lot of like the normal percentage of the population who visits Zazzle, first of all, wouldn't probably search for those words. Some people don't know how to spell those words and also don't even know those words exist, right? When we're talking about certain colors where they're very descriptive. So instead of using the proper name for the specific tone of teal, we just say use the word teal or turquoise because that's more of a common word that people look for, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't make it too complicated.
Yeah. So the next point is use collections to cross-sell.
This is one of my favorite topics because when before they had collections as an option, Jen and I used to create so many different variations of things to help people understand that they could buy
in a group.
a matching item that either had the same design or a coordinating design that fit together so that we could do what's called cross-selling. Means the basic analogy in business is that you come in and buy one thing, but you really need 2 or 3 others to go along with it.
Right.
And so they would normally buy them together anyway, but on the Zazzle platform before collections, that was really hard to tell the customer without physically interacting with them, like emailing them or talking to them in chat or whatever. And so now collections are a great way for you to put a certain number of products together in a group and let the customer see those together. This doesn't take over, like this is different than store categories. It's a way to just showcase certain products together so that they can be bought together. And this is now one of the ways that we have really leveraged collections we have really leveraged collections as one of the ways that we can really exponentially increase our income. So like, let's say you put a group of things together, like a business card along with note paper and the matching logo for a business for their t-shirts and maybe a plaque and a sign and a desk sign or a door sign, pens, post-it notes, whatever, and they all coordinate together because they all can be made into a business logo. So those as a collection would be just fantastic. And then if there's one particular product that sells really well in that collection, it can actually drive traffic to the rest of these products that you've put in the collection. And that just like ka-ching, ka-ching.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
Lots of money coming through that way.
Super powerful.
Yeah.
And a lot of Zazzle designers don't use them effectively. They either do them improperly, or they have what a lot of Zazzle designers do too is create a collection. Well, they create a collection and put one product in or two, right?
Yeah, that's
and
not
then
a collection.
I've done that because you kind of forget and you like make other products and you move on to something else. And so there's a lot of Zazzle designers who aren't effectively using collections or don't even know like the power of them because they're just, they've never really tried to use them to sell more. So
Yeah, and it takes a certain skill set as well to understand what to put in them, what order the product should be. And again, they have a banner and they have a description, and so those are very important in addition to just making them up, like adding the products to the collection, and so that has to be, it's like a whole package that has to be developed. It can't just be a couple of products being put in and then people just finding it by accident.
Yeah.
You have to title it, you have to put a really good description on a banner, and then you have to make it lucrative for them to keep looking through to find those other products so they can pick those out in addition to what they already have.
Yeah.
So, but money.
I know. So point number 6 is learn how to leverage Pinterest for effective promotion. And this is a biggie because when you promote your own products, if you're part of the new promoter program 2.0, if you promote your products externally and they sell, and so someone came through your link, you get to actually earn 35% more on top of your royalty, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And so if you're not effectively using promotion, we talk about specifically Pinterest because Pinterest is a search engine based social media platform, which means that it's not like in real time like Facebook or Instagram or like YouTube, where you need to keep on updating the content because if it's not updated consistently, you lose like your followers. It's a search engine based platform and people go there for inspiration. So there are literally people on Pinterest looking for ideas in terms of gifts, home decor, like basically everything that you're probably selling. They're ready to shop.
Yeah.
So what we do is we talk about Pinterest, and we definitely recommend that you open up a Pinterest account and you promote. But it's not only just about pinning the product and clicking that little red button from Zazzle. It kind of ties in with the fact that you have to have proper titles and tags, you have to have a good design, you have to have your proper design set up so that when someone comes and they are ready to buy, that it works and they're not going to shy away from it. So all of the things that we just basically talked about are all incorporated in a neat little package for you to help promote yourself as well. And if you do one of those sort of improperly, then it probably won't work for you. Yeah. So in terms of using Pinterest properly, you need to have the Zazzle side, and then you also have to have the Pinterest side where you have to create your boards that are interesting. You have to title them properly. You have to use good descriptions because it's all SEO based, which means that it's search based. So the better keywords and the better tags that you put into your titles and your boards will actually help your products be found more likely on the Pinterest platform.
And again, the branding is transferred over. And so again, if your whole account doesn't sort of match with, well, not even sort of, if it does not match with your Zazzle branding, then there's a disconnect. So again, that know, like, and trust factor comes in. So you can really see how important strategy number 1 is, which is established. It affects all aspects of you doing business and getting that sale. And so we're so excited that we cover, like, we're able to help you understand what is all involved in strategy number 1, which is established. And you can now see the different components as to what you need to do in order to get that done. Now, if you need help with that and want step-by-step guidance so that you know exactly how to get all of this integrated and set up properly, then obviously you know where to find us. The Profit by Design Academy coaching program is the place. We give you a year's support with the training with the course, and on the year's support of coaching, and lots of support, accountability, skill set training, and setting things up properly, giving you reviews on your store and on your store branding, your logo, your store categories, categories, everything that we talked about here,
Yep.
we can actually personally help you get a review for that, whether it's us or our support coaches. And so you'll be so set to be able to say, I've set and done, established, which is the first strategy.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Excited?
Yeah, I'm so excited. So thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.